Our top story is the iPad Air 5 or iPad Air 2022, whatever you prefer calling it. Same design. Let me get things out of the way. Same design as the previous iPad Air with some new colors, size and weight, perfectly comfortable for tablet tasks like reading articles, books and binging shows. But overall, the display is actually very nice. The only missing feature, I would say, it's not as big as the iPad Pros and it doesn't have 120Hz Pro Motion display. Great set of speakers, loud, punchy. The fingerprint scanner, as always, works well. 2x faster USB-C port, which supports transfer speeds of now up to 10 Gbps and has now the new ultra-wide 12-megapixel front camera with support for center stage. But if I put all this aside, the big deal is that it comes with the M1 chip. This is super powerful and it's priced really well. 54,900 rupees.
Well, we have another Apple device with the M1 chip inside it. The 5th generation iPad Air. And we all know how fast the previous iPad Air was. But what does the M1 bring to it, with it already being faster than the competition? And with the iPad Pro having the M1 already, does it even make sense to get it now? Shouldn't one just stick to the iPad Air instead? Well, these are some common questions everyone is thinking about, and let us answer all of them in the next few minutes. Alright, so on the surface, things look almost identical to the previous iPad Air. It is the same design with the same dimensions. It is still easy to hold up and read articles, books, and surf through the wilderness of the internet. The bezels beside the display are slim but still thick enough to avoid accidental touches to the screen while the tablet is held. And yes, it does come with some new colors, a deeper and better blue, pink, and starlight. Now, the display that the bezels surround is also the same. A 10.9-inch 60Hz panel with a resolution of 2360 by 1640 pixels. It is still just as good with great colors and details. The aspect ratio does lead to bars above and below the content being watched, but that is something we just have become accustomed to. It still is great to watch movies on, read articles on, but if you expect to do stuff that you do on your laptop, then it might feel a bit cramped. The refresh rate is still half of what the iPad Pro does, but that only comes into effect with animations and scrolling. For the most part, you will be fine with this panel. The speakers that are coupled with the screen are also great, with one each on the left and right sides when you hold the tablet in landscape mode. They get loud and punchy too, and everything you hear will be clear. As for what is under the display, the M1 processor enables some great performance upgrades specifically for gaming. That is where you feel it the most. The high performance and graphics scores added by the M1 to the iPad Air make gaming smoother, better, more detailed and enjoyable. Plus, editing photos on Lightroom and videos on LumaFusion puts the performance upgrades to better use. However, if the user does the average tasks like surfing the web, reading or consuming content, the performance upgrades are not that noticeable. But above everything else, what puts a limit to witnessing the great performance on the iPad is still the OS. The iPad OS has a dire need of upgrades which increase the iPad's utility, which is so far very limited and not all that different from an iPhone. The next upgrade is a front camera. It is now an ultra-wide lens similar to all of the other iPads. It has support for center stage, which is great as it comes in handy during all the video calls. But the camera is still in a familiar yet unfortunate location. With so many of Apple's own accessories designed to make using the iPad in landscape orientation easier, it makes zero sense to place it according to portrait orientation. And the camera on the back is still the same old sensor, useful for scanning documents or taking the very occasional pictures. Among other details, while the fingerprint scanner is still the same as last year, the USB-C port has had an upgrade. It is now twice as fast with transfer speeds of up to 10 Gbps. So transferring photos and videos from an SSD is lightning quick, pun intended. As for the battery life, the iPad Air will still easily last through days when it is used lightly, but will last one entire day if used intensely. So the iPad Air starts at 54,900, but the base storage option is what is weird. It is just 64 GB. The next storage option is 256 GB, which takes the price up to 68,900, which brings it uncomfortably close to the 128 GB iPad Pro, which adds better speakers, a 120Hz display and a faster Thunderbolt 4 port, priced at 71,900. So, what's the best thing to do here? If you are okay with the storage of 64 GB, get the 64 GB iPad Air, end of story. But if that's not enough, get the 128 GB iPad Pro, which will make half the storage, and the 3,000 rupees extra worth it with its upgrades.